There are three things you should do before every single workout if you want to increase your performance and lower the chances of injury. And most people, they will only do one of those things, if any. Hi, my name is Seth. And after being in over a dozen car accidents, I was left in a disabled state. Doctors told me I would never be able to lift weights again. I would never be able to be pain free. I wasn't able to do simple things, and it is extremely frustrating. But over the years, I have been doing a lot of studying and rebuilding my foundation from the ground up, going back to the drawing board and learning how to rewire my nervous system so I could get back on top of again. And one of those things I want to talk about is the thing that you do before your workout, and that is the warm up. And I always thought of a warm up as something just getting your blood flowing, but it is so much more than that. And if you are skipping this, then you are really limiting yourself and increasing your chances of injury. The first thing you need to do when you step your foot into the gym is you need to fire up your engine. You need to get your blood flowing and your body warm. I used to skip this step, and if you are younger, then many times you can get away with this and not realize how important it is. But once you start to get older, you start to realize the benefits that you've been missing out on doing this step. If you're a professional race car driver driving in NASCAR, you would want to fire up your engine and get it warmed up before you hit on the track. If not, then you are limiting your performance, and it's the same exact way with your body. You want to get your temperature running up higher, and you want to get your blood flowing and pumping through your system and getting it primed and ready to go. If your body is still cold, then you're not warmed up enough. How long should you do this warm up process for? Well, that depends on how cold the atmosphere is. If I'm in a 30-degree weather and it's extremely cold outside, I'm going to be doing 10 minutes, 15 minutes in order to get my blood flowing. Also, depending on the workout, if you are doing a more high intensity workout and you need to get your body higher beats per minute, then you may want to do a zone 3 cardio or something more along those lines and not just a zone 2. And if you don't know what I'm referring to, 120, 130 beats per minute, those are around zone 2 cardio. And zone 3 cardio would be something around 150 beats per minute. And that might be different depending on how old you are, so you could Google that if you're unsure. But the point is to get your body physically warm. If you are not warm, then you either need to increase the intensity or add a little bit extra time onto that warm up. But generally speaking, it should be around 5 to 10 minutes is plenty of time in order to do so. The second phase of your warm up is greasing your joints. You want to work on your mobility and remind your nervous system that you can access certain ranges that you're trying to go into during your workout, whether that be certain exercises or certain movement patterns. You want to work on that mobility. And although there is a lot of information about that not doing stretches before your workout, the important thing to know is, yes, static stretching can lower your strength if you're training for your strength, but you have to keep in mind what you are training for and how to increase that performance. Also, if you're extremely tight and you are not stretching at all before your workout, then you are limiting your ability to actually move through certain ranges. And that alone is hindering your strength because there is resistance happening in your body that's having a tug of war because you are so tight. So increasing your mobility is going to help you and not lower your strength in that aspect. But that is not just static stretching. The other side of that coin is if you are loose and flexible and you are working on your strength, you're not doing static stretch holds. You're rather just going into those ranges and touching them and moving around in them so that you're getting your nervous system adapted and ready in order to perform the perfected exercises. I might do some dynamic stretching or some contract and release type of lower intensity work, or I may even do some isometric in end ranges. It all just kind of depends on how I'm feeling and what needs to be addressed before I start my workout. The point is to get my body moving fluently in order to access ranges without restriction. So I feel nice and light and loose, and that way I can perform my best without my own body fighting against me. The difference between actually hitting this phase and not is the difference between running your car with worn out bearings where there is no grease in them and it's screeching at you and it's rugged and rough. But when you do this step properly and you grease your joints, then it's like having a fully greased up bearing that is extremely smooth and flawless that you don't even know it's spinning. And the third phase is priming your system, increasing contraction response inside of your muscles and getting your nervous system ready to go so it fires immediately when you want it to. How you do this is, first of all, the easiest way is just do the exercise you're planning to do with lighter weights and focusing on the contraction. The other way to do this is working other areas that may not be the primal driver of the exercise. So if I'm doing an overhead press, then I may want to work my rotator cuffs beforehand because I want to get them activated so it pulls my shoulders back and opens it up to help that stability when doing an overhead press. Or maybe if I'm need to do some Jefferson curls before I do any type of deadlifting and get my back ready for it. This could be, you could test this out to find out where your limitations are and what needs to be addressed in order for you to be ready and extremely sharp for the training that you're about to experience. If you do every single phase inside of this warm up, you fire up your engine, you grease your joints, and you prime your system effectively, then I promise you, you're going to not only feel better, you're going to perform better. You're going to lower the risk of injury and you're going to speed up your recovery because you're not going to be so tight afterwards and you're going to do your exercises better and more freely. So don't skip this step. Additionally, anytime I skip this step, I regretted it. Adding 15 more minutes to your workout to get all these benefits is a no-brainer. And one other thing about increasing your performance, you're only as strong as your weakest link. So you need to always be identifying your weak links and strengthening them. And oftentimes where you fix one weak link, another one will reveal itself. So if you don't know where to start, I have something to help you out. It's called the Iron Body Assessment, and I'll put a link in the description, but it will help you identify those weak links so that you can end up strengthening them so you can create a bulletproof body, because when you have no weak links, then you are resilient to injury and you can take on anything.